we go. Okay, so when last we saw our intrepid heroes, they had realised that it wasn't Arthur Conan Doyle in the taxi with them. Oh, sorry, the cab. It was Moriarty, or maybe Moriarty. Who knows? Um,
And I'd just like to say for the record that we broke that one before Picard did.
we did. That is true. I was a bit sad with the Moriarty appearance on Picard. I was expecting more. I'm not going to lie. I was actually quite hopeful they were going to bring back Moriarty. The other things we encountered was a grandmother lost in space and time on the subject of Picard, um, who berated many of you for many things, but mostly you, Dave. Mostly you.
Mhm.
Um,
That's fair. I'm a disappointment to the family.
you are a disappointment,
I
and
accept that.
you know, to your point, her desperate efforts to set you up with a nice pick your preferred gender, are still to bear fruit. But she's going to keep on trying. You know that. You have raced your way back to 21B Baker Street with an intention to rescue or to keep alive, however you want to describe it. Nigel, who is the actor who played Dr. John Watson uh, in the 1940s movies, and Basil Rathbone, who you also met, who said almost nothing, by the way. I don't know if you had noted that, but Watson was the one doing all the talking, and
Mm.
Basil said
Yeah.
basically nothing. The other thing you encountered, which I will just remind you of, is that noting that you met the two people, Basil and Nigel, and they clearly understood they were actors. You also met a person who introduced them as Miss Hudson, and was apparently from the same movies, but she was clearly defining herself as Miss Watson. Um, Now, in the battle to get to London, you defeated a Gorgon that was the guardian of the way, the keeper of the gate, through a lever, allowing you to leverage some cheat code that you'd written into the system. However, and just to remind you, it was once activated, always on. So you have now left the gate between Casablanca and London permanently open.
Okay.
Oops.
Yes. But it's only really one way, isn't it? It's from Casablanca to London. You can't go back that way.
As far as we
Well,
know,
because there was no boat left.
That's right. The boat had left when you checked it out. So you now. Oh, sorry.
it just means that Sea Lion will be successful about 5 decades too early.
That's right. Now, I do have one small request. Could you put your characters' names in your
Yeah.
Zoom thing just so I can remember who you are
Ooh,
and
yeah.
call you by your names? Um, and on that note, I'll do the same thing. The creative director, his name is Josh. Oh, there you go. I will rename myself Josh. All right. Okay. So now I am called Josh, and Rafi, and Kit, and Aggie. So you have arrived at 221B Baker Street, and the last thing you saw, I will point out, Rafi, was your grandmother driving off with someone who was clearly a villain.
Mm.
Now, so on that note, then, what, if anything, would you like to do?
Uh,
By any chance, were they headed towards the Thames?
By any chance, were they headed towards the Thames? Let's flip a coin. I wonder what happens if I flip a coin. Does it work? Oh, hold on, clear. Let me try that. Yeah. Were they heading towards the Thames? Yes. But you were not, remember, you're meant to be making your way to the station
Yes.
to go to New Hong Kong to meet with the, what were they called? The Crimson Empire, who had abilities that might be competitive with your with the creative director. Like they were tech folk. The Crimson Empire were tech folk. However, you also have a mission, and your mission is to get Nigel and Basil
out.
And alive, I think was the plan. Although Moriarty was very happy to just let you drop them off at a location of his choosing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're at the you're standing at the doors of 221B Baker Street. Dun dun dun.
I think we're just going
All right. So what are we doing?
going in.
Going in. Okay, so you push the door open, and there's a stairwell. There's going up, and there's a corridor going back. Suddenly appearing in the back of the corridor is Miss Hudson, who looks very, sort of, oh, are you here to see Mr. Ohms?
Yes, we are.
Okay. He's upstairs. He's been playing his violin, so he may be distracted.
Yeah, is Mr. Watson with him?
Mr. Watson is indeed here. Yes, Mr. Watson. Yep.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Is she looking like she's actually... Is she another actor, or does she belong here?
How would you ascertain the answer to that question?
Ask her what her motivation is. No, it's probably a little early for that.
Yeah.
I think Stanislavski was post-war.
Yes. So, how would we ask her? So, do you like working here?
Yes.
Yeah, and do you like being a secretary?
She looks at you quite strangely when you say that. I'm not a secretary, dear. I'm the housekeeper.
Oh, sorry. Do you like being a housekeeper?
Well, yes. I'm very good at it.
Never thought about acting as a career?
No, it's not a proper job.
No, you're right. It's not a proper job at all. Don't worry. Right, we'll just be going upstairs now.
So, tell me, Ms. Hudson, what are your opinions on the subject of women's suffrage?
Well, I mean, we've got the vote.
Okay, that suggests that she's an actor.
Okay, so it's a little known fact, but the latter 1940s movies of Sherlock Holmes were set during World War II.
Okay, that I did not know.
It's a pretty obscure fact. So he hunts Nazis in the last few movies.
Okay, that makes complete sense.
Basil Rathbone and Nigel were paid by, I think it's Paramount. Don't quote me on that. I think it's Paramount. They made movies, and those movies involved them fighting the Nazi threat in sort of England.
Okay.
So this could be Miss Watson from 1942.
If it were continental anarchists,
You'd allow. You'd allow it.
Joseph Conrad's a secret agent, then yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But Nazis is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, for sure. So yes, we well, I mean, as long as I'm not sure. I'm okay with women being in Parliament, but I think we've proven that with the right guidance, we're good at casting our votes.
Have you always been a housekeeper, Mrs. Hudson?
Yes, that's my job. I am a housekeeper.
Okay.
What's your job?
Oh, I am a artist.
Oh. And always been an artist, dear?
Oh, since I left school, yes.
So you don't have a proper job either?
No. Certainly not one that pays well.
Ooh. You should think about taking up housekeeping. Regular hours, reliable income. I mean, you need to marry someone who then dies so you can get their property, which you can then lease out. But, how hard is that to find, really? So...
Good point.
So... Okay, so... Kit. So, Kit. When was the first time someone basically dissed the idea of you being a professional kind of artist in the video game industry?
Oh, I definitely think it's been a long time friction with both parents over. What are you doing with your life? This is not a sensible occupation. What are you doing working for a startup?
There's no future in it.
There's no
How do you
future in
know?
it.
How do you and of course every day that the startup didn't succeed was just one more day of them reminding you that they told you so.
Yeah. What are you doing? Still drawing those little comics?
Yeah. So there's a very vague sense of your parents' voice in Mrs. Watson's voice. Like there's a distinct sound of your mother's kind of critical commentary, a sort of passive aggressiveness that she deployed against you all the time. I mean, I know it's interesting, dear, but is it a real job? Perhaps you should have studied law like your brother. Okay, so...
At least I'm not cleaning up after people.
Well, look, dear, I understand what you're saying, but I just want to point out that I might be cleaning up after people, but it's regular. It's regular income. It's always there, annuity revenue, that sort of thing. Anyway, you should probably, be painting or something, I guess, if you're an artist. So, don't you need people to buy your art if you're an artist? Well, if you're going to make a
Just like
living.
a commercial, like a commercial artist for an advertising agency. That sort of thing. If you've seen, like in magazines and things like that, that's the kind of art she
yes,
does.
where they paint the ladies vacuuming.
Yes.
I'll give Kid a shrug. I'm trying.
Well, that's all right then. I mean, that sounds okay. It's regular work then.
Yes.
I mean, it's not too challenging though. Obviously, if you're just painting ladies with like 4 colours.
Mm. And that's why we need to go see Mr. Holmes and Mr. Watson. They'd be a lovely subject for a portrait, don't you think?
Oh well, our very proper gentlemen. I mean, yeah. I mean, Mr. Holmes is a bit weird, but Mr. Watson served in Her Majesty's armies, you know.
And very important public figures now. Very famous, so...
Yes, yes. Well, thanks for his letter writing. I mean, you know, people love reading what Mr. Watson's got to say. You know, he even paid someone to draw some pictures. Go with some of those letters. You know, stories that they published in the newspapers. They had little pictures in them. Probably a little bit complex for you, dear, but I mean, you know, they were very lovely. Well, look, do hurry on. All right, so do
Clank, 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 up the stairs.
clank up the stairs. There's a door opens and Nigel stands at the door. You're back.
Yep, we are.
Right. Okay, that was quick.
Well,
Did you get to the crime scene?
Change of plans.
yeah, change of plans. That's it. That's it.
Oh, okay. What's the plans then? Why do you change your plans?
You should
Well-
perhaps, along with Mr. Hawthorne, pack a bag for travelling.
Well, I mean, I think we already did. I not? So we can't really travel. We can just travel in London.
Oh, we've got a way out, and we'd love for you to come with us.
Yeah, but the rules.
Oh, we can break the rules. We can break the rules. Don't you worry about that. We
You-
have got a plan to get you out, and you want to get out.
Well, not really. I mean, it's quite comfortable here.
Well, it won't be when Mr. Moriarty comes to murder you. Oh,
Yeah, but Moriarty's just an imaginary figure.
not here. He's not. No.
Well,
Not in
I
this
haven't.
London.
I
he's
haven't
not.
seen him. And anyway, there were several chaps who played Moriarty.
Yeah, this one is very convinced that you should be permanently eliminated.
I see. And so just to ask, what did you do with Mr. Doyle? I did not hear that. I'm sorry.
It turns out he's Mr. Moriarty.
But that makes no sense.
No, but it's true.
Arthur's like the writer. He's not Moriarty.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered how Moriarty was always able to get the drop on you? Now you know.
It was Moriarty all along.
All along.
Well, but I mean, Conan, like, so. Okay. Alright, so you're saying that Moriarty is coming to kill us,
Yes.
Yes.
and you have a way out of the city
Yes.
that you're sure we can use.
Yes.
Okay, alright. Can I get Okay, so at this point, a couple of things are going on. So he doesn't seem particularly inspired to leave.
Hmm.
It is, of course, your choice. I am sure that permanent death is a way out as well.
So I'm gonna just step out of role playing for a second. So there are a couple of things. So you guys aren't actually using your character's abilities very much, which is fine because we're mostly chatting. But I will just point out you have abilities to get people to do things that they don't want to do.
To do. Ah, yes.
In particular, at least one of you can wield fear as a weapon. Explicitly wields fear as a weapon. Is explicitly the wielder of fear. And another one of you can get the gods to do favours for you that can change the very nature of reality. And the third of you can just go, you know what, I've got this gonzo idea, I reckon it's going to work, and then go for it. So it's important that you remember that you have those things to draw upon. It is not always necessary for you to convince people or chat. That's not to say I'm against the chatting. I'm just saying that you have other abilities that you can draw upon.
Unfortunately, I don't think Mr. Watson looks like an impressionable romantic. But I think the fear could help.
Yeah,
Like,
I
actually
definitely
make him feel the fear of Moriarty.
definitely need to impress on him the seriousness of the situation.
So you can do what's called creative violence, which allows you to... So if you have a look at the way creative violence is worded, you can actually use it creatively. And I guess what that means is, as long as you use the nouns, you can pretty much wrap anything you want around it. So the example in the comics is a guy literally cuts, the despair out of someone and takes away their sorrow for good. So actually cuts the sorrow out of the person. Now, unfortunately, you don't have a blade. You've got a giant freaking hammer. But having said that,
Not precise.
its form is malleable to some extent as well.
It's effective enough to knock some fear into him.
Yep, that
In the
is
same way.
true. It's like, I'm gonna hammer some fear right into you, buddy, as it were. So, if you would like to get Watson to feel a dose of fear, you can burn sort of one rank of your own terror, because you basically spend all of your time afraid. I think we've worked that out.
Mm-hmm.
And project it into him with your hammer.
So can I try and direct it into Basil instead and see if his
Ooh, okay.
fear actually works better on
Basil?
Nigel?
Yeah.
Because Nigel just doesn't seem to be doing anything. But like Basil isn't talking. He doesn't seem to be comfortable at all
Yeah.
with any of this. Whereas Nigel's a bit, yeah, I kind of hate it here, but I kind of like it.
Yep. By all means. So the way that will work is you can roll your charisma to do it, but you get to also roll your... What dice do you have? A D8, isn't it?
I have a D8, yes.
So you can also roll your D8 on top of that. And to be clear, you will succeed. This is more about what the consequence of your success will look like.
Okay. So I got a 5 on my D8 and a 2 and a 5 on my charisma.
Okay, so 4+ is a success. So you have definitely succeeded with 2 successes. So you basically, so describe how you do it. What do you do to project this fear into Basil?
Mrs. Hudson said he was playing his violin.
Yes.
So
She did.
I'm going to take his violin,
Yep.
hold it up.
Yep.
This is you and Mr. Watson. Put it on the table. Smash it. Hammer is Moriarty.
Okay. So you grab the violin, which is just resting somewhere on a pile of things. You put it on the table and you do this speech, and then you hit it with the hammer, and then you project. Effectively, you move his fear rating up by 2. So he now feels about as afraid of something as most people will feel, you know, when they're doing something like, I don't know, something they're actually scared of. It won't be the worst fear they'll ever experience in their lives, but it will be a very bad fear. So a couple of things happen when you do that. One, violin is now destroyed. You have succeeded. You feel the hammer, which to a large extent mostly spends its time telling you that you should be running away from things, right? Like it seems to be like it's the anxiety hammer of anxiety hammers, right? So it's just like constantly telling you. But in this moment where you wield it, and you actually wield it to project the fear into something else, and you vent, so you actually release some of your own terror through the hammer, you feel that the hammer like really embraces this moment. Like there is a deep, deep sense that the hammer has wanted you to do this all along. That this is actually what the hammer exists to do, to project terror into others. Like it is far more satisfied in that moment than it has been for the whole time you've had it since you arrived here. And there is a deeply unsettling feeling about the way the hammer sort of like takes glee in projecting this this panic and terror into someone else.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Sorry, my partner had a haircut, and I just sort of. That is amazing. It's a lot of hair gone. Yeah, it looks great. All right. The second thing that happens is Basil starts like. You see him move for the first time, effectively. He hasn't said anything. Now, it's an important point. You've not heard him refer to himself as Basil. So Nigel keeps on referring to him as Basil and keeps on talking about him as being Basil Rathbone. So
he may or may not be Basil Rathbone.
So he looks terrified, but then grabs, a sort of big pipe. Watson, he says in a sort of suddenly, kind of activated voice. Watson, I think we're at danger, my friend. We must work out how to defeat this foe, quick. And who are these people? Oh my God. Clients of ours, obviously, Watson. And Nigel's like looking exasperated into the air. What's going on, Nigel? I don't... Sorry, Watson. What's going on, Watson? I don't understand what's going on. Nigel looks at you for a moment in sort of confusion and then turns to the person who is clearly Sherlock, not Basil, and goes, No, it's okay, Basil. We've got it under control. These nice people just wanted to escort us somewhere safe, and I was suggesting that we were safe here.
How does Holmes react to being called Basil?
He looks confused for a second. Like, you can see clearly that he's confused. Look, I've said it before, Watson. It's not my name. I don't know why you keep on referring to me as Basil. Who the hell is Basil, man? But look, whatever you like, my friend. So, now, However, look, these good folk, obviously, I assume you bought weapons.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
I believe so.
All right. Well, look, Watson. I think it's time to go. And Nigel's like, he looks really annoyed. Actually, he looks super annoyed. He turns particularly to you, Kit, and goes, I don't know how you did what you just did, but I'm the creator of this space, and you are officially exiled from it.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Well, I like London a whole lot less than I thought I would. The place is full of Nazis. Or about to be. One of the two.
Or about to be.
Oh
tell?
wow.
Well then, if we are exiled,
So,
we
sad
have
face.
safe passage to the next.
Well, you felt something try and shift, like he was trying to do something to you. But whatever it was, it didn't take.
Doesn't affect us.
And he looks really annoyed then. So we were, yes. So of course none of the others are real. This is mine.
Ah.
And
So
you
this
are like
Basil is not really Basil, it's just your memory of Basil?
we
That's not even that.
so well, he just looks at you. I don't have to answer your questions. So, you know, and the thought that one of the creations of my realm could cause me any harm at all is ridiculous. So, but you know, like at this point, like Sherlock is like going, quite kind of quietly insane in the corner, and is pitching around, sort of looking for like opening drawers and other things. He's like, and then after doing that for a little while, you see him pull out what is clearly a pistol, like a Webley kind of classic pistol. It's like a classic, you know, British officer pistol from World War One, World War Two.
4.55 hand cannon.
Yes, giant,
Yeah.
big pistol. But he's pulled one out of a drawer and he's throwing on his jacket. You know, his little kind of, you know, kind of the double layered jacket thing that Sherlock Holmes gets around in, and the deerstalker is going on. Like he's not sticking around. No. What, Watson? We've got to go, man. If Moriarty traps us here without any defenses, you know, he's got lots of you know, minions, and at this point, like, Watson is sorry, I keep on getting them. I'm gonna have to remember to flick the names across. Nigel is uninterested. So really, this now boils down to a moment of your decision. So Holmes is desperately trying to get Nigel out the door. Nigel is basically saying, I'm kind of the creator of this realm. I've got nothing to worry about. You guys are sort of standing at the top of the stairwell when you hear a loud crashing sort of sound. Actually, you probably hear first of all the shrill whistle of the bobbies. You know, the sort of the police whistles sort of sound of bobbies, sort of, you know, in almost an endless array of kind of late 1800s London sort of Jack the Ripper stories. So the fweet fweet sound of, you know, the police calling in the night, in the fog, approaching. So what do you want to do?
I'm happy to abandon Nigel at this point.
Leave him to it.
He thinks he's going to be fine, so be it. So, if Sherlock wants to come with us, okay. Like, I think actually now it seems like maybe we don't need to worry about rescuing him because he's not real in the way Nigel is. Ooh. But we should take him with us anyway, if he wants to go.
All right. Well, he's ready to go.
All right, cool.
Let's take
Holmes, is there a back way out of here?
Yes, he goes. Quick. And you can see that Nigel is sort of standing at the top of the stairs as you guys bundle your way down the stairs and shoot out through the back into the alleyway behind behind the townhouse. Mrs. Watson is hurriedly sort of looking worried about what's going on. Aggie, you can hear those whistles coming closer, but you can also feel something uncomfortable at the same time. So your character doesn't know it yet, but you manipulate luck.
Yeah.
So your persona hasn't quite worked out, you know, that you are this kind of luck engine. So you can do the domino thing, if that helps.
That's what I was thinking of.
Luck is not a superpower.
I need to differ.
Quote. The thing about your luck is it always goes well for you, but it doesn't always go well for others. It's kind of how it works. There's a sense of something disrupting the balance. You know, you can feel this kind of, I don't know, it's like vertigo, right? Like you feel this kind of ringing in your ears and other things approaching with the whistle. Alright, so you guys bundle your way out the back door. You're in a dark alleyway. Somehow it's gone nighttime in the minutes that you've been inside the townhouse. There's a
Nigel's changing things, isn't he?
There's a heavy fog in the streets, and you find yourself standing on cobblestoned sort of roads. So kind of vehicle, particularly motorized vehicle sort of roads.
Maybe if we could hail down a hansom cab and get to the station.
Yeah.
Take Holmes with us because, well, we're heading to Neo Hong Kong, so it would be helpful to have a Master of Batutsu along with us, I think.
It's true.
Just saying.
Alright, so you step out, Raffi, you're in the fog, and you can feel the goddesses now all around you. Because, of course, she, or it, or he, is the goddess of water. And you're now in this kind of heavy, misty fog. And you can feel this kind of slightly oily presence in the air that is clearly this being that you've talked to once or twice already. And you can feel this sort of like this tapping feeling, like someone's trying to kind of come in and have a bit of a chat?
I suppose we can spare a minute.
So you open the door, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there's this kind of viscous, oily feeling in your head because this is the goddess of water, but of industry and of, in particular, sort of the industrial age. So it's not some sort of pristine kind of water goddess, naiads and Greek springs in the mountains kind of goddess. This is a goddess of, industry and pollution and water all bound up together.
She's the rats in the Guinness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darling, you need to listen. I've been knocking so hard. How are you?
In a bit of a bind, but
I
sorry,
can-
I've just been a little busy. What can I help you with?
Well, it's not what you can help me with, it's what I can help you with. I mean, here you are, in the mist. I don't know if you've noticed, but I didn't bring it. But I'm here all the same.
Well, I suppose it's London. It is infamous for its smog.
Yes, exactly. It's what lives in the fog that you should be worried about.
Dare I ask what lives in the fog?
Well, men with knives.
Sounds reasonable.
But look, if you need any help, all you have to do is ask. That's why I'm here, darling.
I'll look around. Kit, Aggie, Sherlock. Should we make our way to the station?
Yes, yes, we should.
Well, just remember, darling, as you get in this little cab of yours, that if you need any help at all, any help, you just need to ask.
Perhaps you can keep the men the men with the knives occupied
I
for
could.
our escape.
I mean, I could. But I mean,
What would you like in return?
well, I don't know. What would you offer? I mean, maybe a favour at some point in the future? Or you could do something for me when you get to this other place you're going to? I hear there's a lot of water there as well.
That doesn't seem unreasonable. I say, biting the inside of my cheek.
I mean, you could, well, I guess the question is, what do you think you might be able to do for me? I mean, what favour would you grant me? If I was to help the men with knives find other places to be.
Oh, is there anything in particular you'd like done?
Well, when you get to this other place, there'll probably be places where people go to drink.
Mhm.
I'd just like you to put a bit of me in those places.
Oh, that seems reasonable.
Like, there'll be places where they get clean water for drinking, and I just think it might be nice if it was a little bit more colourful. You remember what it was like to drink water, don't you? In those places? Rafi?
Yes, I do.
I mean,
do.
You're okay. I mean, some children get sick, but they would have gotten sick anyway.
Does it really make it much worse spiking a dystopian hellhole with cholera? Um,
It's not cholera. Some might get cholera, but that's not my fault.
oh, all right. All right.
So, you'll do it?
Yes, all right, I'll do it.
Oh, well, thank you. You feel this presence kind of leave your head for a second. Although there's definitely now a door that might have been closed once that's now just slightly ajar. And you can sense that door could get pushed open over time, leaving a more permanent entryway.
I can't see how this could possibly go wrong.
No. And when you feel your pocket, you note that you now have sort of like a jar
Mhm.
in your pocket that you didn't have before. The mist, however, thickens quite dramatically after this conversation. Can I get you to make a wisdom plus your god die, your D12?
D12.
Yeah, for me, please.
That's 3 successes with a special.
Ooh. So the mist thickens dramatically, and you hear echoing sounds which aren't a distraction for you, but feel like they're clearly intended to be one. They're the sounds of young women talking to each other in the mist. And they've got a particularly sort of southeast London Cockney kind of sound to their voices. A kind of Whitechapel sound to their voices, if you prefer. And you can hear these voices like all around you, just talking away. At that point, you did ask for a hansom cab, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And you can feel something moving through the mist towards you. And before it arrives, you feel it suddenly distracted by the voices in the mist going in another direction. Like you haven't seen it, but it's definitely there. And it's definitely moving in the direction of the Whitechapel voices. At this point, the hansom cab arrives that you've sort of been trying to summon, and it opens up. The hansom cab driver looks down at you. Their face is really hard to make out in the mist. It's almost like they're just a shadow without a clear kind of presence. And as a matter of fact, the entire experience of the cab is quite misty. It's just kind of indistinct. Well, you need to get in, sirs, ladies.
Ladies, after you.
Alright. I'll hop up into the cab.
Excellent, thank you. And you?
Yeah.
Excellent. And you, sir?
Yeah.
What about
Come
him?
on, Holmes.
Points
Come
at
on, get in.
Holmes looks at you all for a second and goes, I'm not so sure about the cab.
Shut up, Sherlock, and get in the van.
We
So
know
you
it's
bundle-
dodgy.
You bundle Sherlock into the van, and thank you, sirs. I am simply doing a favor. And ladies. And you
The station, please.
the station. Yes, you want to go to the station. Very well.
Yes, please.
I will drive. We should drive quickly. I don't know if you can hear him, but he's out tonight.
Yep.
Hmm.
So as you're driving off in the cab and the mist is closing in upon you, you can hear those sort of Whitechapel Cockney voices fading into the distance. And then the last thing you hear is the cab is sort of pulling out onto the street and, trotting away at a reasonable speed, is a piercing scream.
That'd be Jack the Ripper, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The Hanson cab.
Part of me regrets not settling that conspiracy theory once and for all. But
Who was Jack the
Yeah, sure.
Ripper? Well, you might never have found out even if you'd stayed around. The darkness descends quickly. The mist surrounds you in its loving embrace. There's a sense of surprising warmth in the cab, like you're being cradled, even as the cab moves away. There's also the sound or the sense that something is following you, but it's a reasonable distance behind you. Like it's been distracted in some way.
Thank Goddess.
The cab itself moves with some speed through the shadow and arrives at what is clearly a sort of large kind of underground train station. So there's people, there's cabs all, disembarking. You can hear the sort of the tooting sound of the steam engines, kind of woot, woot, that sort of sound. There's a sense and a smell of coal smoke and acridity in the air. You're now in a much more sort of heavily polluted space even than you have been so far. And it's quite acrid because of all of the steam that's coming out of various places. There's a whole stack of people departing from the cabs, most of them looking quite well-to-do, obviously not super wealthy, but reasonably wealthy. And there's, effectively little maids with little, posy sets selling posies to people and various other things like little street urchins and street merchants selling things to people as they get out of the station. You can see sort of patrolling the station what appear to be bobbies. So funny hats, nipple hats, if you will. And they are wandering left, right, and centre. The building itself is this kind of massive sort of Georgian edifice. So there's, kind of this big, sort of yellowy stone construction. The entire station's made out of it. The windows are these kind of glorious exhibits of stained glass art, and you can see what is clearly well lit, possibly with gas lighting, light coming out through the windows. The windows themselves seem to show different scenes. So there's people sort of moving and other things like that in the windows. So the cab opens, and the voice that you associate with the driver whispers down from above, "You need to get out now. My favor is paid. I will be leaving and you will be going."
Thank you.
Is fine.
Sherlock, give the man a tip.
Sherlock looks at you for a second. It's like, that's not how Sherlock works. He looks at the man, and the man goes, "I don't want your money. I don't take money from people."
Mm.
I pay her my debt, and now the debt is cleared. You go.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I will not see you again, I think.
No, we won't. Oh,
Is good.
so,
And the cab kind of clatters off into the darkness, and even as it rides out into the mist, you can see it sort of apparently fading from view in a quite fadey kind of way. Okay, you're at the station. There are bobbies patrolling the exterior of the station. There are street urchins selling goods. There are stained glass windows with images on them. There you have Sherlock Holmes with you. You can hear trains from the underground, from within the station, and the station itself is lit like a Christmas tree in comparison to the surrounding domain.
right. Doesn't look like any of the bobbies are looking for us in particular.
Well, they're definitely looking for someone. Like, you don't have a way of really ascertaining whether they're looking for you except by showing them your faces and seeing if they give chase.
Yeah. Right. And where do we think the lever or the secret entrance is, like we used before?
We could try asking one of the coppers, where's the train to Hong Kong?
I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I feel like Nigel is pretty pissed with us, and he is changing things and actively making the world against us. Alright, I'm gonna have to trust to luck. I'm gonna make my own luck. And I know when writing this scene in the early days, that's my time as intern.
It's going to be platform 9 3/4, isn't it?
No, it's not going to be that cliche.
Okay.
It's a different kind of cliche. There's definitely going to be tearful lovers parting on the stage, on like the platform. So that's what we should look for is the train where we can see like a melodramatic, tearful parting. That's the train we need.
Okay. So you're going to like find the right station, the right
Platform.
Sorry, yes, good point. The right platform by finding two lovers who are sobbing as they part ways.
Yeah. There better be some tearful hanky waving out of a window.
Okay, so what number is currently your luck number?
Oh, I don't know.
It should be
I
written
think
in your
it-
sheet. I think it's in
Yeah. Where is it? 6. I've got an X next to the 6 on my
Yeah.
dice.
Okay, perfect. And can you remember what trade you took?
Dude.
Did you take hustler, con artist, bard, rogue, trickster, wizard, or
I'm a
swashbuckler?
swashbuckler.
You're a
I think, if that's
swashbuckler.
the style. Is that what we're talking
Yes,
about?
that's the style.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
I have a striking hat.
you have a striking hat. It's good. So you come. All right. So the first thing is I need you all to make a dex roll for me. A dex roll, yes, dex roll.
Nope.
One success.
No
One
success.
success.
Okay, so as you are entering the station, you hear the whistles of the bobbies blowing. You look around, and 2 bobbies are now racing towards you, pulling out what appear to be truncheons in their hands. Kit, you feel... So your hammer reacts to the truncheons. In a kind of kind of way. And then it sort of goes, well, they're just knockoffs. Alright, so the 2 of them are running towards you, and you can see that they both have sort of quite pronouncedly piercing eyes. Like they've got a high degree of vigilance about them. Okay, what do you guys want to do? There's 2 people with truncheons running straight at you, and they seem to be doing something with their... actually, I'm not going to say that. It's going to sound really wrong. They are racing towards you and holding their truncheons in their hands.
Run!
Run.
Alright, so you guys make a break for it, running into the station. Can I get strength rolls from... Oh, well, strength or dex, your choice. And if you want to do something crazy brave, Aggie, you just need to describe what crazy brave thing you're doing.
Yeah. I think that I'm gonna be kind of... What am I gonna do? Because I can't do much. I'm running. I am going to scream that I saw Jack the Ripper just outside the station as we
Okay.
ran through there, and I'm gonna like tip over some rubbish bins, if I can, or any like furniture. But I'm thinking they're probably like really heavy, so probably not.
Throw an urchin.
I'm throwing an urchin.
Hell, an urchin. Alright, the 2 of them, well, you can... So the more gonzo you plan, the better the chance
Alright,
for you.
so I'm just gonna be grabbing flowers from the little girls, horrible
Right.
that I am, and then just like chucking them everywhere as I go.
So you're covering the ground in slippery flowers.
It was.
Is
Yeah.
this the strategy that we're going with?
Yeah.
Alright. Okay, can I get... so then I'm back to strength or dex. If you want to, you may use your full die.
I
Aggie.
do want to do that. I will add an extra d6.
No successes.
None! Oh my gosh.
3 successes. Finally.
Alright, so Kit's off and bolting. Like a Terror Knight should. And the other 2 of you, they catch up with you.
Yeah.
They seem quite equipped for it. They have got these truncheons out, and you can see that the truncheons, when they get closer, they give off a kind of vague sort of glow. There's a sense that they might be sort of similar to the hammer.
Do I
Okay.
see this?
No, you're far away.
Well, I don't know. Do you? What do you want to do? Your call.
I'm pulling out my sword now. I'm turning to face them.
Aha!
Pulling out my sword.
Right. Okay. You pulled out your blade. Rafi, what are you doing?
If we're standing and fighting, I'll pull out my hammer.
Right? Okay. And Kit, what would you like to do?
I would have at least glanced behind me to see if they were
Yeah.
following me.
So they're not following you because they've stopped to fight your friends.
Oh,
But your hammer's like of the opinion that's fine. Like, hey, this is
yeah,
great.
yeah. This is...
This is great. They'll slow them down, and we can make a break for it. Like,
Alright.
you know,
Yeah,
I'd be
okay.
worried. Like, you need to be aware. I think Jack the Ripper's coming.
Mm. I'm going to
He's
stop
kind of terrifying.
and see if I can see any melodramatic scene on a certain platform, like Aggie told us to look for.
Okay. Alright. So, make a intelligence roll for me, Kit. Aggie, make a... I think it's Dex if you're using your sword, isn't it? Because you're using... Have you got the... I've got a rapier, or is it an actual sword?
Blah, blah, blah. Ew, what have I got? Oh my goodness. Where are you? Sword information. Pistol, bang, bang. No, I've got a fine and noble Turkish scimitar.
You get advantage when talking with regal swords and those who are impressed by regal swords.
Hmm.
Because you didn't take a rapier, you took the
No. Long
Yeah.
sword.
long sword. Yep. Okay.
So is that strength then?
Yes.
Alrighty. I'm rolling.
And also
2 successes.
2 successes. Christ.
Yes.
All
Now
right.
I get.
All right. So these guys.
This is my hammer.
Oh, there we go. All right. How many successes did you get, Dave?
0.
0. All right. So, you hit your guy, Aggie. Now, damage. How does damage work again? Anyone remember? Exactly. That was my thought. Damage. Been a while. Combat. High, slow, sticks. Take down. Start again. Your turn. Movement. Attack. Melee. Use strength to build your dice pool. Dealing damage. If a target is each hit removes 1 guard. If the guard is 0 each. Right. Okay. No, it is just successes. So you got 2 successes, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, 2
You've
successes.
you've disabled his guard. And the other guy. Ooh. You lose. Have you got any armor on, Dave?
Yeah. I get 1 defense from my hammer.
Okay, so you take 1 point. You lose 1 point of guard as he connects with you. All right, so you can. Oh, and I should roll for Sherlock, who will assist you. Oh wow, 3 successes, unbelievable. Okay, so Sherlock comes in, bundling in from the side, and sort of grapples with one of the 2 guys, the guy that's attacking you, Raffi. So grapples with him and has bundled him to the ground with 3 successes, almost taking him out in a single hit. Okay, it's pretty simple. Now, where did we get with the intelligence roll?
I got 1 success.
Okay, you're looking around on the platforms for a couple, sad to leave each other. You haven't seen anything yet, but you can continue searching, or you can choose to go back to the fight.
Well, if one guy is already on the ground, I'll continue looking.
Nice, nice. All right, Aggie.
I'm gonna whirl about and do another hit with my sword.
Okay.
Flailing about, I've got one success.
One success. Okay.
Woo!
Okay. You hit this guy. However, he also hits you. So you don't have any armor, do you?
No, I think it says whatever I'm wearing, your defense is 1.
Oh, okay. So you do. Yep, you got
Yeah.
defense 1. Okay, so you actually take no damage from the hit. And you do him 1 point, which is enough to start actually injuring him properly. So his guard is now down to 0. Dave.
The one that Holmes has floored.
Yep.
I'll take a swing at him.
Right, while he's on the ground. Roll with advantage. So add an additional dice for advantage.
Two successes.
Yeah, okay. Alright. He goes down in a welter of blood. And Sherlock Holmes takes him down as well. Alright, so that leaves you with one opponent who has so far failed to do anything significant. Can I get another intelligence roll, please? Kit.
Two successes.
Oh, nice. Well done. I think you've only got 2 intelligence.
Yep.
Alright, so what actually catches your eye is there's a sort of divide in the station, and you can see that there's all these kind of European kind of scenes playing out in most of the station, and then there's one platform that is literally just packed with people of sort of Asian descent, and they've got like chickens in sort of, cages, and like, all of their goods on their shoulders, and they're all talking to each other quite animatedly, and you realise that platform is quite distinct from all of the other platforms. Like, it doesn't really fit.
Belong.
Yeah. So you can't see, a couple, sweetly kissing each other goodbye, but you can see what appears to be the edge of another realm poking into this one.
Found it!
Okay. Right. So there's only the one Bobby left. Would you like to take him down, Aggie? And do you want to do something crazy brave to get rid of him?
Oh, yes.
What is your crazy brave action, Aggie?
I am going to dance about him
Yep.
and knock his helmet off and smack him on the back of the head to knock him unconscious.
Okay, so you basically dance around the outside of him, tip his helmet forward over his eyes, and then whack him on the back of the head into unconsciousness. Okay, I'll buy that. Make a roll. Include your luck die, please.
Yeah. Oh, one success. It's a 6.
Was that on your
Lucky die? No, unfortunately, it was not.
Okay, well, it's actually kind of good. So, when you fail at that, you get to circle another number. So you get to indicate another number is lucky. So that keeps on happening until you get a luck roll.
Yeah.
So choose another number. That's fine though. You got one success. You said.
Yeah.
Okay. So yep, you dance around the outside of this guy. He's sort of circling around like a person trying to swing at a pinata, having spun around 3 times, sort of thing, and then you tap him on the back of the head and he falls to the ground. You can kind of vaguely make out that the truncheon is making sound. You can't really make out what it's saying or what noise it is, but you can tell that it's kind of vibrating urgently while it lays on the ground. On the whole,
Alright.
it's really quite disturbing. There's a vibrating truncheon just lying on the ground, rolling.
I was about to say it's roughly contemporaneous with Freud. That's
Yeah,
all it really
yeah,
is.
that's right. Yeah,
Well, I think I might need to pick this up.
patented solution for hysteria, don't you know?
Yeah.
To quote the period's opinion of the explicit use of these things. So there is a very real chance that you have 2 vibrators currently rolling across the floor while you sort of make your way to the thing. Did you say you picked up the truncheon?
Yeah, I'll pick it up. It's like,
Alright, it's buzzing in your hand and making a kind of buzzing sound.
Yeah. Alright, well, I'll take it with us and I'll see if I can find, once we get on the train, a button to turn it off.
Okay. So you've brought the vibrating truncheon with you, and the rest of you are moving across. I will just point out this is neither sex nor romance. Just saying.
It's a consumer medical product.
It's a consumer medical product, exactly. So you guys are all sort of now racing over to where Kit was waving. Now, Kit, did you try and go onto the platform, or did you stand there and say, "I found the platform," and wave
No,
them
I
in your direction?
just stood there and waved madly.
Okay, so you're approaching the platform now as a group. Now that Kit's pointed it out, it stands out pretty boldly, which kind of confuses you a bit because up until this moment you kind of didn't really notice it. As you approach the platform, however, you can see sort of pushing his way through the crowd on very, sort of fast-moving feet is Nigel. He's like pushing people out of the way. No, get out of the way! And kind of pushing his way forward. You! Foreigners! Interlopers! Western
Yes.
Oriental gentlemen.
Just trying to leave.
Like you said you wanted to exile us while we go in. Look at us leaving.
Well, you can't take him! And he points at Sherlock Holmes at this point.
Well, it won't be the first time that Holmes went missing in
Well,
the
yes,
franchise.
but he belongs here. So you can't take him. I simply
broadening his
won't
horizons.
allow it.
And what happens when Moriarty kills you?
Well, Moriarty's just a character. He's not going to kill me. I'm the creator.
Okay. Suppose you can always create yourself another Sherlock if he kills this one.
Well, yes, exactly. But I can only have one because there's only one Sherlock. So leave him. You can't have him.
Well, if we can take Sir Basil Rathbone, we'll leave Robert Downey Jr. for you. How does that sound?
Robert Downey who?
Oh,
He's,
he's a different Sherlock Holmes.
Very much more of the method acting school, particularly with regards to Sherlock's drug habits. He got better. It's okay.
He did get better. I'm simply not going to allow it. And at that point, he he waves his hand, and the platform that you're racing towards is kind of racing away from you. So, no matter how fast you run, the platform moves away at the same speed.
Hmm.
And you see Nigel sort of having done something stagger for a second.
We should have let Moriarty have him.
Yeah. I'm starting to think that this guy's really annoying. So,
Okay.
what do we think? Shall we just leave Sherlock here? If he really is just a character and not an actual person.
Look,
Like-
we were in Morocco. We didn't really get to keep much of a memento of that. I mean, seriously, we've been to early long 20th century London. Wouldn't Sherlock Holmes be the ultimate keepsake?
Look at
I
what
just
I've
want to
got.
I just want to. Yeah, I would have souvenir the guy.
And besides,
So, Aggie, tell me that right at this moment you're holding the vibrating truncheon in one hand, going, look at what
And
I've
waving
got.
it.
Alright.
Yeah, I got a souvenir.
well, if you are his creator, Nigel, then surely you're in control of him, so he can be let to decide whether to come with us. And if you are in control of him as your creation, then he will not anyway. So,
I'm... Okay. Why would I do that? By the way, you guys... So he's busy talking to you, right?
Yeah.
You know that horrible, terrifying presence you were feeling earlier that you knew was following you but was a fair way behind?
it's catching up.
You can definitively feel that it is getting closer.
Time to go. Time to go. I'm saying, like, wash my hands of Holmes. He can stay.
So Aggie's abandoning Holmes. Aggie's happy to leave Holmes
Yep.
to whatever fate should
I-
accrue.
I will, yeah, happy to abandon Holmes, but I want to take a swipe at Watson, at Nigel with my hammer, just because he's caused us so much grief.
Okay.
I for one would like the deer stalker.
Alright. So you can grab the deer stalker as we go.
I want to make Watson scared.
Okay. So you can feel the terror building up inside you
hmm
because, you know, you're scared of the men with the knives in the dark who kill people.
Yes. And the ominous presence that's coming closer and closer, and
Yeah.
people screaming about Jack the Ripper, and
Yeah.
and what are we even doing in this place?
Yes. So can you make for me a... Well, if you want to just swing the hammer, go for it.
I just want to swing the hammer.
Right. And make and add your die to the roll.
So, strength roll,
Yep.
and ooh, yeah. 2 successes, and one of them was on my die.
Okay. So you sort of step forward with the hammer. What does it look like to the external? Like, do you just hit him with the hammer? What is it? What do people see when you wield this on someone like Nigel?
I think all the things he's been doing to try and terrify us and scare us away and chase us So it's going to like look like congealed mist and blackness and smog, and then it's going to go out into little tendrils and just latch onto him.
Okay. So the hammer is effectively trying to eat him.
Yes.
Yeah, right, okay, good. Alright, so you've got the hammer, you've wielded it, these tendrils kind of lash out towards him. He is definitely caught by surprise. What stance... Do you know what stance you have? You have a lot of stances. Did you choose one?
Yes, my stance is intimidating gaze.
You can be a scary fucker. You radiate
Yeah.
murderous contempt. If there's a question of who's the most murderous person in the room, the answer is you. Yeah, I'm not sure that's completely true at the moment, but look, I'll wear it. Okay, so you look like you know. So thinking it out loud, because you're a terror knight, and part of it's about how you feel, but part of it's also about projecting it, right? So you feel terror yourself, but then you project it on others. I have this distinct image. You're like one of those really, like you're like what's the name of the character from what's his name? I'll Be Your Huckleberry. That's Doc Holliday, but the guy he ends up shooting, who's played by the guy who played is it Hicks from Alien? In Tombstone. It's in Tombstone.
Yeah.
Like, you're the kind of really sketchy, kind of half mad, half scared.
Bill Paxton?
Yeah. No, Bill Paxton's in Tombstone. He's one of the brothers. Oh, God. I'm going to kill myself after this. He was an alien. I'll be very sad. So, you look jittery, right? You always look like you're halfway between running away and just shooting everyone in the room. Or blasting everyone in the room. So right now you just look like you're on the edge of one way or the other. This is going to fall. Alright, so he takes a step back at this point, and indeed when he does so, the for a moment at least, the platform stops moving away from you. So you know, the rest of you who, I don't know if you're still making movement towards the platform, but anyone who's still making movement towards the platform suddenly gains on the platform. And he sort of like abruptly, and there's these black writhing sort of tentacles trying to get into him and sort of, you know, give him the fear, the terror that you're projecting. At that point you hear screaming from further back in the station, and the mist that is not in the station, right? Because the station's super well lit, but suddenly this fog rolls into the station. So this black kind of dark grey moving shadow and light kind of starts to roll forward, and you hear screaming from within the cloud. Watson turns around to face it at that point, distracted by whatever is coming directly at him. And your hammer at this point goes, now, and sort of grabs him with its tentacles. The rolling wave of fog stops for a second, and you see the sort of Arthur Conan Doyle mannequin figure, now clearly a mannequin, like a porcelain kind of white face, sort of stepping out of the shadow, but there's something still in the mist, right? So this is not what's in driving the mist, this is something else. But it's clearly Moriarty, and he's like got this wicked sharp knife in one hand, and he's just stepping towards Nigel. Okay, so what would you guys like to do at this moment? Your hammer is thirsting for this death. Like it can feel Nigel's terror in this moment. And it is, I think it's fair to say, quite excited.
Has the platform stopped moving away though?
Yeah. Watson's really worried about other things at this point in time. He's no longer dicking around with reality in that way.
Okay, Hammer, no time for that. We have to be going.
So you just basically throw the hammer over your shoulder and run down the corridor.
Yeah.
So there's black tentacles trailing behind you and the hammer going, no, I want to go back! I want to go back, Mummy! I want to go back!
Okay.
Play with the deaf person. So the hammer's desperately pulling you back, going, no, you don't understand. Can't you feel it? Like, feel it. It's like, oh my god, he's terrified.
I want to go to the fear cloud. No, we want to go away from the fear cloud.
No, we want to go to the fear cloud.
Wow.
To the fear cloud. All right, Rafi, what do you do?
I'll grab the Deerstalker and run for the platform.
So you just grab the Deerstalker off Holmes's head. You don't grab Holmes. You just grab the Deerstalker and
Well,
run.
I thought we agreed. Did we agree to leave Holmes behind, or?
Well, we did, but like now that Nigel's distracted, I'm gonna be like, if you're coming, Holmes, this is your moment.
Yep. In that case, I'll grab Holmes and run then. Deerstalker and all.
Okay, so you so you're just grabbing Holmes's hand and pulling him in your direction?
Yeah.
All right,
Or
awesome.
grabbing his sleeve.
Yeah. So you're grabbing Holmes and pulling away. You are all running to the platform. The mist has the fog has stopped because it's clearly waiting for something. And that something is Moriarty, who takes his very sharp blade and literally runs it into the chest of Nigel. You all feel a shudder go through everything around you, like a little earthquake. So there's just this moment of shaking and shuddering, and you see kind of Nigel looking back at you in horror as you jump onto the platform. Outside of the platform, and the platform is not experiencing this. So when you get onto the platform, you see this happening, but you're not in it.
Yeah.
You see sort of black cracks appearing and running through all of the walls, and then they stop for a second, and then the walls all tidy up. And actually, not only do they tidy up, it all becomes very, very, very clean lines. So everything is perfectly shaped geometrically, like all of these little inconsistencies are gone. You can see outside of the platform that all of the people now in the other platforms are sort of moving in kind of unison almost. Like everyone's who's walking in the same direction, has the same gait, walks at the same speed. There's no one pushing ahead of anyone. Like, you can feel this kind of regimentation sort of spreading out from where Moriarty is standing now over the expiring body of Nigel. He looks at you across the platforms and goes, I guess I owe you a thanks. This would have been much harder if you hadn't have done that. So for that, won't stop you for now.
Thank you.
London has a new creator.
And he steps back into the fog bank. And once again, but this time you can see these eyes, like these glowing eyes in the fog bank, looking at you. and you can feel, but not see, this kind of sharp glinting within the fog bank. Like, it's not, you can't see any blade, but you can feel it in your very soul that there is a sharp glinting blade being held in the fog bank. It's like every kind of horror trope. You know, you don't see the knife immediately, but you know that it's just behind their back, right?
Yeah.
It's that sense of tension as the fog bank kind of rolls back out of the station. But even as it rolls back, you can feel that regimentation spreading. And Aggie, at this point, you remember that Moriarty, of course, is famous for being a professor of
Mathematics.
Correct.
Numbers. Yes. Numbers and order.
And running everything with numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Did try to tell him that Moriarty wanted to eliminate him.
Eliminate him.
Alright. So the next sound you hear is the loud sound of the train. Now, at this point, what you do notice is the people on the platform are now hurriedly jumping onto the train. They're being reasonably orderly, but at the same time, there's a sense of fear in the people jumping on the train, which wasn't there before. So, before it was just people getting on the train, they were excited about travelling, you know, they were going back home, all of that sort of thing. Now it's like they're fleeing a war zone. It's sort of, you know, people are hurriedly jumping onto the train and grabbing their children and pulling them into the train and pulling their goods on, and people are just piling onto the roof of the train. So my question for you guys, you've also got Sherlock Holmes in train, as it were. Where would you like to board the train? So your options are, you can get in one of the carriages, you can get in one of the cargo carriages or one of the actual passenger carriages, you can climb onto the roof. These are kind of your options. You can hang on the outside of the train, actually. That's a fourth option. Which is it?
Are we going to
Cargo?
need a ticket?
Yeah, I'm like, cargo? Are we going to stow away?
You don't.
I mean, presumably we can buy one on the train, but do we have anything to purchase a ticket?
I think, yeah, maybe the cargo. Maybe cargo.
Yeah, stow away.
Stow away.
Alright. So the train starts to pull out of the station, and you guys have hidden yourselves in the cargo carriage with an intent to hiding out in the train while it travels to Neo Hong Kong. Alright. So that's where the actual session stops. So you guys are now on the train on your way to New Hong Kong. We're gonna do an advancement. So each of you will get an advancement. Now, do you know how the advancement works? You basically, if you have a look at the book and go to your Paragon, you will have an advancement table, a chart, really. It's a deconstructed roll D20. You will have a big red triangle at the bottom called Start.
Close.
That's the one. So there's one for the Dictator, the Fool, the Emotion Knight, the Neo, and the Godbinder. For the Fool, you get Clown School, I think. Yep, you get Clown School, because you have to take that first advance in that order. Now, the way it works is you can go in any direction from the triangle, but it has to be connected. So your first advance is always to that first one directly above the red one, because you can't go anywhere else from that starting point. So have a quick. So you don't get any bonus stats or anything like that. You just get a new ability, and I think those abilities will let you buy things over time. For the emotion knight, it was emotion draining, which actually makes a lot of sense. You learn to channel your arcane's hunger to siphon their sacred emotion from a target character. The GM ascertains how strong the emotion the target was feeling. This is the maximum level of emotion that can be siphoned. A success for each success, for a success and each success above it, a level of emotion is transferred to you. The target's behavior changes proportionately. A failure means the target's emotion stays the same and you gain no emotion. A critical failure means the target can never feel emotion towards that source ever again. But you also get all of the emotion. So the good example of that they give in the rules, well, they actually give it right there. If a peasant is petrified of a dragon and you want them to not be afraid of the dragon, so you siphon off a bit of their fear, if you get a critical failure, they will never be scared of dragons again.
Not necessarily a good thing.
Not necessarily a survival trait. So you get that. Clown School for you, Fool, and I can't remember what the Godbinder gets. What does the Godbinder get?
You get a level of God.
Get a level of God. You can choose to up your current god or find a new god to love. So, you know, up to you if you want to kind of get deeper into bed with the pollution water goddess, or whether you want to find someone, you know, a little bit kinder, like the god of fate. That'll end well. Or the forge god, who lets you summon things, or the war god. Anyway, so that's your advance, and that's where we will stop this.